We are live.
Welcome everyone.
Hello.
Welcome everyone to another Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. I am Greta Russo and this is Dr. Bryant. So Dr. Bryant, please introduce yourself to everyone.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy you're all joining in with this today. I'm Dr. Nelva Bryant. I'm a veterinarian and I work in the airline industry. Been doing so since 2018. I've been working with Delta Airlines and I'm very pleased to be in that role. And it's kind of nice to be in a position where you have a passion for something and it's embraced in your job position. So I'm really thankful for that. But I was brought on staff to help review and revise the policies for animal transportation. Kind of a little blurb, but it's huge, actually. It's just trying to get everyone to understand animal transportation regulations and the policies that the airlines actually have in reference to transporting animals to ensure they get to their destination safely. So that's what I do for Delta, basically. Now, within that, I started noticing there's things that pet owners can do to better prepare their pets for air travel. And I needed a forum to actually kind of share that information. So during the pandemic, I decided to develop When Pets Fly. I know it's a weird name. I think I got it from like When Pigs Fly, but I was like, When Pets Fly. I think that's a good term for it. So I developed the brand When Pets Fly to actually share pet-centric travel education. And we've in this now good 5 years. So it's really exciting to see how we started and where we are to this day and everything. After a year into what I was doing, because initially I started out with just like a Facebook page, and I was sharing information that way through a Facebook page or group. I added Greta into everything, and with her marketing background, she gave some strong suggestions on it. Number one, helping develop a website. My website is whenpets.com. You can find all the valuable information that, as far as I have blogs and stuff to share as far as pet travel preparation. So there, then we also developed further with the Facebook, Instagram, and also on LinkedIn as far as sharing information through social media. And we started doing these Facebook Lives. Now it's almost 4 years in, I believe. But we've been doing the Facebook Lives now. It was Greta's idea. And initially, we started with thinking that we were just going to share pet-centric travel education. But it's expanded further because we have guests on here that just share multiple things about that impact traveling with pets. It could be, we've had pet shippers on here that are through the IPATA, the International Pet and Animal Transportation Association. We've had folks that have a zoo animal background for zoo animal shipments, research animal shipments. Goodness. More and more, you could probably share more. But let me stop for a second and introduce yourself to Greta because you're a strong part of what I do. And I really am thankful you're part of the team with me.
Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Greta Russo, and I'm on this fantastic journey with Dr. Bryant in developing When Pets Fly. And really, I think our number one premise is education. Mm-hmm. And not just for pet parents, but really everybody that has their hands in some way a part of making sure animals are transported safely and, if we can, happy as possible. So it's been a fun journey, and I've really enjoyed meeting all of our fantastic friends that come on the show, as well as that reach out to us through social media as well as emails. So it's been a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like I said, we've got really good guests, and we have a repeat guest today. Is this like the third time Steven has been with us, I believe? But we love our repeat guests. Updates on what they're doing and amazing things they're doing. And it's just great to see. We're all growing together. So we have Steven May with us today. So I'm very excited about that. But is there any updates we want to talk about? We have our newsletter coming up, right?
Yep. Our June newsletter comes out on June 1st. So if you haven't, please go and sign up. We have several. Well, first of all, the newsletter is built around a lot of great tips and stories and all kinds of things that Dr. Bryant shares. from things that she's seen through her years. And then we invited guest writers to be a part of our newsletter. So we've got people signed up for each edition throughout the year, and that's going to be fun because again, it gives people talking about the same subject but from different standpoints a chance to get their voice out there. And it's a great opportunity for everyone to learn. So this is going to be a really good newsletter coming up. And again, I hope you're looking forward to it, or if not, please sign up on the website, the homepage, and we'll even send you the last newsletter so that you can catch up on Dr. Bryant's tips. But to your point, I do want to share, so international, first of all, the United States needs to catch up because last week we announced that Italy was allowing the big dogs inside the cabin. And I'm a big dog girl because I'm a big dog. But anyway, so now this week I am excited to announce Hong Kong Airlines launches first pet in-cabin flight and service upgrades.
Oh.
So just to, not to, if I knew somebody that worked in the airline industry, boy, would I would like to tell them things. But yes, so
well,
Hong Kong is.
You know what? So in a sense, they're opening up to be more pet friendly as far as transportation of pets. But you know what makes me wonder though? I think we had this conversation offline, and I'm gonna bring it up because I really think it's something we should start thinking about. Pet friendly doesn't necessarily mean all pets. So it just makes me wonder, there must be, if you research pet friendly and look upon, and this could be, of course, pet friendly transport, pet friendly accommodations in hotels, pet friendly accommodations, say if you want to go to a restaurant with a pet, even with all that, realize it doesn't mean every pet it's open for all pets. There's restrictions behind it. So just be mindful of that. And it just makes me think of maybe pet friendly isn't the correct term too. Because it gives gives the impression that it means all, and it doesn't, and everything. But I do applaud them for as far as those airlines being open to it. But I bet you there's got to be some restrictions behind it. There has to be. I don't know. That's my worry and my thought, is that there's got to be some little fine print that they're not sharing, and we're just hearing a headline kind of thing in reference to that. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure, they have certain parameters and everything. And so if anybody is interested, Hong Kong Airlines, they announced that it has become the first carrier in Hong Kong to offer in-cabin pet flights that are currently limited to Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya. So definitely go to Hong Kong Airlines to find out, if you and your big dog can go. I'm just excited that someone is thinking about the big dog, because as far as coming in the in cabin, because typically they have to go in cargo. Right. And a lot of people don't really like that. The other thing that I wanted to bring up very quickly is this weekend is Memorial Day weekend, is official start of the summer. So there's a lot of things that people need to be aware of, especially traveling with your dog. Number one, the three major things about heat. Do not leave any animals in your cars at all, not even for a short moment. If I read that if it's 77 degrees or higher outside, the pavement, whether it's the street, the sidewalk, whatever the case may be, can be too hot for your dogs to walk on. So think about getting booties, or just put them in the grass, or even in a stroller. And then thirdly, don't leave animals outside exposed to the heat without some kind of place for them to go and cool off. So whether you build a shaded area or a shaded construction, or even making sure that there's trees out there that can shade any animal. Also making sure that there's fresh, cold water outside for them to drink from. And more importantly, don't leave them out there too long. Bring them in after a certain amount of time, especially the brachy. I always have a hard time with this word. But the snub-nosed breeds. Yes. the snub-nosed breeds, since they have a hard time breathing, it's really, anything can really exacerbate their condition, and being outside in the heat, one of them. And then the last thing is the food. So a lot of people think because they're barbecuing that anything that they barbecue on the grill can go in their pet's mouth, particularly dogs. But the 10 common barbecue foods to keep away from your dog are corn on the cob, salty, fatty meat like hamburger, raw salmon, fried foods, spicy foods, onions and garlic, raisins and grapes, stone fruit, which is a fruit with a pit inside it, avocados, and desserts containing xylitol. But I would just keep them away from desserts anyway because it has sugar. But I wanted to make sure we shared all those things about the summer as well.
You said a mouthful, basically, a reference to all that. There's so many things I can pick up and run with as far as that. I definitely agree as far as the food, but I would say, you know what, folks, if you haven't, and just thinking about our last Facebook Live with Nancy Hassel of American Pet Professionals, she gave great tips on if you're traveling ground transportation, basically, you're traveling by car with your pet. I would say if you can, if you can listen in on the session or just follow her tips. She gave some great advice as far as traveling. Say if you want to go hiking or what have you with your pet, your dog this weekend and everything with the holiday. But so that, and then as far as you're saying, the temperature in the cars, it gets really, temperature on the ground, it's warmer than what you anticipate. And inside your vehicle, please don't leave them unattended in the vehicle. It is a lot hotter inside the car than it is outside. And you'd be amazed the differences and how quickly it can get heated in your vehicle. And you put your pet in danger in reference to that being in an enclosed vehicle. And then as far as our food, don't get me started on that. That's the worst thing you could do. Corn on the cob, you can literally, they'll eat it and the cob will get into their intestines and it will sit there. It won't move and it causes an obstruction. And I mean, if you do not get it taken care of, they will die from that because it's an obstruction and it can cause, who knows, rupture of the intestinal lining, and you just don't want that. So please don't give corn on the cob. And then the other things you mentioned, the onions and garlic, is toxic to them. Avocado, I think it's the seed more than anything on that one. But either way, and grapes and raisins, and just don't feed them. Really, honestly, in the best interest for your pet, it's not good to give them table foods. If you want to supplement their diet with something, go with, what I do often is cucumbers, sliced cucumbers, cherry tomatoes, could be steamed broccoli or baby carrots. I just feel more confident with something like that. So just be mindful of that. And with this season, and you just have to be really careful. So, but yeah, great tips. Great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the foods that you mentioned. Sometimes when people reach out through IG, I can answer a few little things, but I do say I'm not the doctor in this relationship. It's just me, Greta. But when they start talking about food, I actually tell people to reach out to Hampton Pet Chef. Because that's her profession, right. And she does make great homemade meals that you can eat that are for your pets. And so, I figured she would be the best person to know, because I just saw conflicting, I just saw a post, and this goes to show you, to verify things before you just believe everything that you see on social media. But I just saw someone's post that said garlic was actually a good thing to give to dogs. And I was like, you know, that just doesn't jive with what I've always been told. But, you know, not being in the medical field, it's like, okay, it used to not be good, but now it's good. It's almost like, you know, because it as a non-medical person, and you're the veterinarian, it has me thinking, well, you know, it's like back in the day, first they said white bread was bad, only eat the wheat, and now they're saying the wheat bread is bad, and then they said the butter was bad and don't eat that, eat the margarine, and now they're saying the margarine's bad. So it gets so confusing. And if anything, if we as people in the world not bring that confusing stuff to the pet world, that would help us so much.
Right.
You know, so that's why I say just look for verification.
Well, see, that's the hardest thing about social media, and everything is out there. And even sometimes things we find on these chat things, AI systems, you really need to validate everything you read or see, because it might not be true. And just be careful. Again, as you saying, seeing posts, I've seen posts of people, you know, being proponents for all meat diets for their dogs. And when you can give them meat, I guess, but you have to realize they are not true carnivores. They're omnivores. So they need everything. And if you don't provide them with all the nutritional supplements or anything that they truly need, then they're going to be lacking. So you can do that, but remember, there's other they might need to be supplemented with additional nutritional aids to make sure they meet all their requirements. Same as we're supposed to meet all our requirements. I don't know if people really look into it anymore. I mean, I'll be honest, personally, I don't sit up every day and say, well, I'll make sure I have enough iron and I have to make sure I have enough magnesium. I don't do that. But there's still dietarily, we have to realize we need a balanced diet for our bodies to just function properly. And it's the same thing for animals too. So you have to realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're sitting here going on in a tangent, and we got a guest waiting.
We're just having a conversation together and forgetting we have a wonderful guest here today. Let's bring him out.
Yes. So let's bring Steven out.
I'm just getting educated.
I was like, wait a minute. Oh, we didn't forget you on purpose. I was just like, wait a minute, the time's flying. So
you know,
I was mentally adding to the list. You know, it's like yes.
Well, good.
Well,
good.
Steven, let me read your bio, and then we will get this puppy started and have a great conversation with Steven L. May. So, okay, we're going to do this officially. So I'm going to read all the letters behind your name as well. So, Steven L. May, CVJ, VRCE, EMT with parentheses, RT. This is that gentleman right here, and we are going to go into him explaining a few things.
And just one thing. Wait 1 second, Greta. And before you finish, too, you're going to have to tell us, Steven, what all that means. Because again, I think you're amazing. I've been totally impressed with your background. And before we get started, and I just clarified it with Greta too. Steven is not a veterinarian, but he's amazing, and he has such an impact in the veterinary profession. So you blow me away. So you're going to tell us all these initials once she's done and all the great things you've done. But I'm sorry, I just had to say it. But please proceed. But I just had to say that.
Thank you. There's a few more of those, but I didn't want to bother them, so I'll let you go. So the first one, CVJ, is a certified veterinary journalist. I write a lot within the industry. I write for veterinarians, technicians, and for ICOM professional care associates. There may be VAs. And for CSRs. The Veterinary Reception Certificate of Excellence is really a high-end program that's, I think, I don't know if you have or have not had Dr. Joe Clark as a guest, but she she has a fantastic program, and it's dynamic. It's adult-based training to educate the front desk and understand the importance of each individual job task at the front desk. And then EMT, emergency medical technician, RT is really respiratory technician, and somewhere in there, there's 48 years in the veterinary industry. And so I will tell you, because where I'm going, I'd love to share a little bit on the brand side, but I started very early on when I was an embryo, and I knew for a fact that the most important, I would say, person, place, or thing in the veterinary environment is the patient. Everything else follows. The client follows, the hospital follows. And so as my career kind of moved on, every project I took on, I tried to find projects that would dynamically change the industry. And not alone, with a group, but I looked for focal points like that. So, in the I guess it was either mid to late 90s, we launched the first pain management protocols for routine and elective procedures. It was not heard of. Most practitioners would give a sedative or ispromazine when they came up. They'll do fine. They go home. Same thing with space. Hey, it hurts. Okay. So, and that was eventually opened up to the industry. So if you look at the pain management world today, as we have both in veterinary and human healthcare, it is a sin not to utilize pain management, not to assist in a lower dose. By using pain management, you have less anesthesia. You have a faster recovery time. There's one target that I focused in on a patient. Another initiative is that I looked at diabetic dogs, and every pet owner wants to give a treat to their dog. Mm-hmm. When they have a diabetic dog, or even an obese one, you're either helping them to get a little chunkier, like a monkey, or you're not doing them. So we launched the first hypoallergenic dog treat, and it blew up. And it's under another brand now. So I don't know how much you want me to push brands, but that's another story. But it's still on the market, and it makes a significant difference. And again, same thing. I target right for something that can change the industry and better for the pet. It's better for the clients, better for the hospitals. And then the one I'm working on now is controversial, but it's going to blow the industry wide open. So I'm going to hold that one for the next time we talk. But it will change the next 20 years of how access to care is dealt with in the veterinary community. Mm-hmm. It's that big. This will be my final goodbye. So, and it'll be about 10 years by the time it comes to fruition, but it's a fantastic initiative.
That's great.
So
I'm just happy to meet you and learn more about you, because honestly, knowing about your past, some of the things you've done, just the ideas. I remember your idea of initially, as far as a service of transporting pets for veterinary care. That's something I've thought about for years. And I'm like, that's just so cool that it's like this dude was doing it. So I'm really excited that you've done a lot of amazing things, and just
that was so fruitful. The initial part, it was I launched in 1984, franchise in 90, but in 1984, I would go around all the veterinarians, because I knew them all in the local area where I was working. And it's like, you can go ahead and put your flyers down, just like every other company. And they're just gone. I'd come back like a couple days later, they're gone. I'm like, well, maybe they're throwing them out, So that wasn't the case. 4 months later, the phone was ringing off the hook. Hit by cars, non-ambulatory, bloat, you name it. And even routine. And it was 10, 16-hour days. And I opened up in a number of different territories. And then, I sold it. But I always remembered, even at that point, pet is the most important.
Yep.
And clients appreciated it. Doctors and whether GPs or specialists, they loved it, because they were left with this I don't know how to get your dog here. There was a void needed to be filled.
Mhm.
And the faster they get there, the
Yeah.
faster they're there. So
Well, it's still a void, and depending on the location and where you're living, it's a void. I would honestly tell you, it's a void down here in the Atlanta
I
area.
know. Someone
Um,
approached me to rekindle it, and I've been giving a lot of thought the past 6 weeks. This
mhm.
is only 6 weeks. I'm like, yeah, I could really do that. I could, So it's there. It's going not, because it really can be. Everyone can benefit from it.
Mhm.
Just incredible.
Mhm.
So thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
So what am I doing
Well, do
today?
you want to? Let's see. You said, well, okay. So I'm wondering if I should read your bio because it goes into how you get into branding as well. So should I just go ahead and read that and then people will understand the connection? Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
With over 48 years of experience, as a veterinarian, as a veterinary pet and human health care consultant and SLM communications, I specialize in delivering strategic marketing and communication solutions tailored to the unique needs of clients in the veterinary and human healthcare industries. As certified veterinary journalist, I am passionate about educating and inspiring the public on pet health and wellness while highlighting the latest trends and innovations shaping the field. My career journey includes executive positions at Veterinary Centers of America, VCA, and Tech Diagnostics, Veterinary Pet Insurance, VPI, nationwide, Vet's Choice, VCA Hines, in addition to product development, hospital management, marketing, social media, and public relations. Currently, I am also the executive director, Coalition for the Veterinary Professional Associates, CVPA. I am dedicated to empowering veterinary and human health care providers to enhance their impact and improve patients' outcome. So I just want to say, welcome Stephen May to the show.
Wow, I'm tired just listening to that, but I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the last sentence says it all, which is the outcomes,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can come.
Absolutely.
I mean,
well,
let me say. Let me just ask one question. I'm going to get started. What made you go down this pathway as far as veterinary medicine? Again, I guess your initial, you could say, is the pet, but what was your initial thought to go down this pathway?
That is a brilliant question. So I had lots of opportunity when I started, and it's going to sound corny, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
And I was already doing tech work, and there was this one case that no matter how I tried, I was up 20 hours with this case, getting better, not getting better. It was just tragic. And the dog laid over, passed away, and both pupils, both eyes just stared right at me while he was recumbent. And I said, this is where I need to be. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm not going anywhere. And, I had a chance to go to vet school. I had a chance to go to other areas that were within government that were veterinary related. And I said, nope, I'm going to stay in this industry. And then I started thinking, like, how can I benefit the patient on everything I do? And I saw the void for pet transportation and emergency service, like right off the bat, because I was in the hospital environments, and we always had that request. So I started the company, then I franchised the company, and then it was I got a couple more than one knocks, but I got a lot of knocks on from corporate veterinary consolidators. And I really evaluated it. Instead of looking at it as a career, I said, well, how is this going to impact pet care? What's the outcome? And I said, well, bam, same with insurance. How's it going to, is there better care and better access to care if a client has a pet insurance? Well, yeah, it is. And everything took me down that same path. And that's where I am today. I have no problems getting up. I got to be here I'm out a couple of weeks in one of my hospitals out here in Texas. And I pull double shifts every day when I'm out here. In at 7, out at 11. They're doing surgery, emergency past that point. I got to go home and get some sleep because I got to be back here at 7. But it's not dull. It's never dull. This just past 32 hours, we had, speaking of hiking and walking and taking your pets out around summertime, we had 5 snake bite cases. We had 2 porcupine attacks, needles, which were just juicy. And we had 2 heat stress, 1 heat stroke. Okay. That's all in a 30. So I can only help them like everyone else that's working in the environment. If we're there to help them, the focus is on the patient, you cannot go wrong. And that's where the branding comes into play. All the marketing programs that I worked on, whether it be strategic, one is product development, new product to market, or just complete brand, start from a brand identity and look down between what's the essence, what's the promise, what's the identity, and then goes to mission statement, value statement, and promise statement. It's like, hey, what are we here for? And in the environment that I look at, it's like, when does that experience start for the patient? So taking the independent hospital, okay, where does it start? If the client takes the time to pick up the phone and call you, it's 2 things. They need help or they're price shopping, which is still help, okay? So that brand experience starts right there, just at that moment. Doesn't matter if they saw an ad, which is branding, if they saw you on social media, which is branding, but the experience you don't get from, it's either funny on TikTok or humorous on Instagram or informative that spikes your interest. But either way, you called. And that brand identity and that experience starts so early on. And if you go to any animal hospital, whether it be corporate or whether it be independent, does not matter. And you ask everyone individually on that staff, what is the most important thing that you believe in this hospital that you do? Most of them will say, well, I do the treatments and I set up the smart flow charts and I see the clients in front and we push this dentistry and spay. Okay. Those are services. What is the most important thing? And a few will say, oh, the clients are, because if we don't have clients, the door doesn't swing, then we don't have income, we don't have revenue. And I said, okay, you're close. You're number 2 on the list. Very few will say the patient, right? Because the patient always gets kind of like jeopardized in a sense. And that's not that they did get less than premium care. It's just that it's controlled by the client, whether they want to treat it or not to treat it. That's where education comes into play. And nothing is more, look, I actually work with our veterinary assistants and PCAs, and they're very honest. They kind of, at the end of the shift, they'll close up at like midnight 1 and I'm here and they put all the trash near the door. And I go, can I ask you a question? They go, yeah. I said, first off, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. And I will walk you out so you're not walking in the dark. I said, do you think that's good for that couple of patients that are sitting over there in cages and that are hospitalized? And they go, no, it's not, because I wouldn't want trash near my hospitalized bed if I'm sitting in it. Everything counts on that brand experience. Every moment, every minute, everything you do, the waiting time. So many hospitals will have techs come in and do prelims and vitals. And then they'll go in the back and they'll wait for the doctor, 1 or 2, whoever's on the shift. And I don't know about you, but I don't know how long they're waiting. Our staffs in all the hospitals that I work with, front desk is trained for triage. They know what to look at, what to ask, and they'll call for a technician and it'll be stabilized before we even fill out the paperwork. That's an investment we make. That's not an investment everyone has to make.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how we treat our patient. And 9 times out of 10, they're getting the best of care, right? And I've walked into many rooms with veterinarians here, and I said, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, Dr. So-and-so, I just got to let you know that you've got a critical coming in. Okay, thank you. Next thing you know, the dog's on the table, 20 seconds later, techs will work on him, catheterization, the catheter's in, the fluids are in, bloods are drawn, urine's drawn, they're on the x-ray table, and their ultrasound. Just 1, 2, 3, 4. And everyone understands how important every stage is. It's not so much when an animal crashes, then everyone jumps on it. It's like, here you go, code blue. Everyone jumps on it. That's how it is for everyone, whether it's the CSRs or whether it's the PCAs or the veterinary technicians and the licensed veterinary technicians, including the doctors. Otherwise, and I've gone very far just to enhance the brand, because this is just not, I see fantastic write-ups on social media about individuals. This doctor was great. The staff was wonderful. The front desk was compassionate when I came in for euthanasia. All great, all great. But how do you enhance that, right? What makes if we're going to enhance efficiency to see and treat on and I'll say quicker basis, because sometimes it takes a while to see a patient when you're double booked, right? Yeah. No, we literally put timers on the outside of the exam room doors. That's when they came in, and techs will walk around, a reception say, that's 4 minutes. Okay, doctor's in that. And there's cameras up where everybody is. And they will remind them, hey, I have a client that's hitting 6 minutes. And they came in for vomiting, diarrhea. Looks stable, but too long, right? Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of building the infrastructure to support the brand that you're promising. If you look at everyone's website, large, small, doesn't matter. Quality care, whatever. What does that mean? I mean, I don't understand. I do honestly understand what that means, but I don't understand what a client is supposed to receive from that, except for maybe nice pictures and here's your list of services, meet our team. But am I connecting, right? So that's where branding, no matter what it is, directly impacts patient care, all the way to the point whether it's coming in for, we had 42 euthanasias last weekend here at this facility. And it's rough on everyone. It's rough on the clients. It's rough on the staff. It's rough on the doctors. Mm-hmm. And everyone needs to take a time for the mental health aspect of it and absorb it and deal with it. And there's grief involved. There's non-connective relational grief that our employees have. So everyone rotates on that is part of the brand. And on top of it, we still got to reach out to the client because they're already made a decision. They've gone into our butterfly room. They've shared. They have time. They got their family. They go home and we don't see them anymore. That's not, you cut the umbilical cord, you just cut your brand. Because your brand promise says that whatever it may be, it's a commitment to or an expectation set for clients and patients. Is that where you want to sever it? I don't believe so. And not that your building signage, your directories that you do online, or even your social media is any less important. It's critical. Okay. But it's really the overall, we say, what's the experience? The biggest negativity I hear is they charge too much. They didn't get the value. They were rude at the front desk. Yeah. Okay. So the doctor care was great. The technician care was great. The veterinary assistants, PCAs were fantastic, but they got hammered because of the front desk, right? And by the way, that is the most important aspect in any hospital, whether it's dental, human. I see it across all markets. And it is unfortunately the most disrespected by clients. We support, and even on the private practice for human medicine, we support front desk first. Okay, they're the first to educate, the first to help, the first to find a solution, the first to make an appointment, the first to help you with understanding your forms, your situations, your policies. And when someone says, the doc, I know you talk to the technician and you get a call between 3 or 4. They're all trained by 2:45 to already get those numbers ready in place, get the update by the patients that staying is going as the doctor needs. That is branding. That is not just efficiency. And yeah, it leads to efficiency, but it's how it's, you'll see logos and you'll see names on smocks. Okay, great. You're just cohesively branded. You got a nice color palette. What does that mean? It's like, for me, it's like, what does that logo mean? Okay, because if we don't do it different, there's plenty of other places that will just give the same poop care that clients, and I won't say poop care, the same care that they're unfortunately used to. Think of it as flying on an airplane. Perfect example, right? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, I gotta make a decision. Do I call, Priceline? Do I call somebody else? I'll call the airline directly. Okay, no, I don't have my card number. So you can already start to stack up the mindset of how the person that wants to spend a couple $100 on a round trip, how they're going to take it, right? Finally, someone gets on the phone because I pressed the right one or I waited, and and then all of a sudden you hear, sometimes it may be boilerplate in the back, it may be fantastic service, right? So then you go, okay, I forget about the past. I got my tickets. She was great. He was great. I get to the airport. It's like, no one told me I had to be here and check my bags first versus get my ticket and then get the ticket for the bag. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And then you get on, it's like, that's not the seat I asked for. And there's an experience there, right? I go into the bathroom. It's not clean. Just you chalk it up, right? And even to the point where, well, I remember the days where I got a full meal. Now I get like a bag of crackers, and I got to wait for, those are all very meaningful and very minor on their own, right? But when I land and I finally see my family, they say, how are your flight? They go, don't fly that airline. Believe you me. And they go through a litany of itemized things. We're not different in the human healthcare industry. Yeah. We're certainly not different in the veterinary industry.
Well, what do you think that needs to, well, my thought is a change on it as far as you saying airline stuff, or even just travel, or even education. I'll just put it that way. There's an education piece that's lacking with that, and that will probably assist with brand development and everything. Even with, you're saying, quality care, and as I said earlier, using the term as pet friendly. There's these coined terms that we have out now, but there's no definition of them, or there's no true definition of it. Or it might mean something for one thing. Pet friendly here might be pet friendly, not pet friendly there, but they use the same term. So quality care, as you're saying, for branding, period. What does that mean? If we can define truly what quality care is, or how they define it, maybe that'd be better. And maybe don't use quality care. Define what you're going to get. Define your service or something like that.
And it starts, for us, our audit, when we look at hospitals, everyone is responsible for themselves. We have hierarchy, and we are all working on the same level. So we'll do things that will, I'll do the payroll, I deal with HR, I pay the, license taxes, all that stuff. No, if I'm a receptionist and we're hiring somebody new, we're training today. I just basically say, how do you like it so far? Oh, good. I said, okay, so you're responsible for yourself, right? And they'll say, what? I said, you're responsible for yourself. You need to ask, you need to educate, you need to learn, And if someone doesn't give you an answer, it's a pinball machine. You bounce off and you go to the next person that gets an answer.
Mhm.
So when a client asks you a question, you say, I don't know. That you want to take responsibility for that?
Mhm.
We go through that with everyone. It's like, pharmacy, it's like, okay, you fill the prescriptions, you're in charge. Uh-huh. Are you responsible for what you do? And under that responsibility is logs, write labels, double
Right.
verification it's filled. I mean, those are systems. But if they understand what happens to one area, their area, that person, not sticking to understanding it's patient, client, hospital. If it's good for the patient, if it's good for the client, if it's good for the hospital, we do it. That's simple. Everything else falls under those label categories of who they are. And sometimes you get 2 out of 3 because there's a money problem, or usually there is, they can't afford, whatever. But they're going to get, and the way I look at a quality veterinary medicine is, but if a client elects not to go with the bells and the whistles, right? Because this is like hard times right now.
Mhm.
I want to make sure that whatever they do go through, we do it to the fullest capability that we can. So if we're sending out, if let's say a client just says, "Hey, look, I just need radiographs. That's all I can afford. Can we start there?" Well, we've already offered everything to CT here, and we'll just be very honest to educate them. I said, we will, but if we see something, that's only allows us to see the insides, and there may be something diagnostically that may be abnormal. We need to move to the next level. Are you prepared? Can we explain that to you? And if you can't, and you don't have the funds, we make the decision, right? Like last night. Oh, I'm going to get killed for this, but there was a snake bite case that came in. Brutal. Got hit twice. One on the tongue, ugh, and one on the nose. So you had a like big bulbous, and she's got 3 young kids. One in her arms, 2 are running around, and she was deciding yes, no, and a venom. We gave him. I said, you know what? I told one of the technicians, go ahead and give the antivenom. I'll talk to the client. I talked to her and I said, look, antivenom is incredibly expensive. We're not, this is not one of those things that we do 3.2% increase on. I will give it to you a little bit above cost because we have to store it. We have to buy it. And I want your dog to stay here tonight because if it gets a reaction, I don't want it on you. You've got 3 kids, right?
Mhm.
Well, all of a sudden, she paid for as much as she could. And the little girls in the car seat were helping her put and she had to be, and I'm not exaggerating, 4. She's in the car seat. She sticks her hand out. I'm like, oh, it's interesting. Okay. And so she goes, thank you for taking care of Mud.
Mhm.
That was it, right? Patient, client, hospital benefit. They will always keep coming back. It's not always about making the maximum at the time. It's when you want to or do not want to or involuntary cut that umbilical cord. That umbilical cord should never be severed, even when we treat on referral. If you treat hospitals on referral and they come in for CTs, they come in for specialized medicine, we always send them back. But they know, and the hospital knows they can count on us. And so we'll contact the hospital months later and say, how is so-and-so doing? Just curious. We're not calling the client, but you can't sever that umbilical cord because it's a patient. It's not an object. It's not a number. It's not, oh, I saw 50 dentals this month or more, or we don't look at it that way. Business-wise, I have to, but the mindset here does not. It's on treatment. It's on patient. So
I love that. I mean, that's why really the goal really, as far as choosing veterinary medicine, is the animal first. Just want to take care of the animal, you know?
I mean, just think of the guests you had, right?
Mhm.
So even with Boo Larson and Care Credit, ultimate bottom line, who wins? Patient, client, hospital. It's very clear. You can't, you stay out of those lines, and it doesn't matter if it's a product or service that does involve a hospital and they're on. So if you have, now, as you know, they have all the boarding facilities near the airports. They're quite elaborate. They're beautiful. Who does it help? The patient or the pet for them, the client, peace of mind, and whoever referred them, that's good too. Could be the hospital referring. It's good. It's good for the hospital. I stick to those three primary categories on anything I do. I do not go wrong, ever. It just grows. And so I find things that even in associations that I work with, the first thing I look at, it's like, okay, pet, client, association or hospital. Yep, that's fit. Or you got to flip it, or it's just not right for me. Mm-hmm. My biggest success falls that in that equation. And I think everyone can do it. And a lot of people have not a lot of funds when they start a business, and even when they have a business, things are tight. But you also have employees, whether they're 1 or 16 or 50, start from the inside. It's a simple job. Mm-hmm. It's a simple formula. And the hardest things for us as adults and humans is just to keep it simple. Mm-hmm. We're not trained that way. Yeah. So it's an interesting mindset. And I say to many of them, it's like when I get approached because I'm dealing with 20% of the headaches and I let the staff deal with 80% of the fun, I'm very much a proponent. I'll go, okay. So what do you recommend as a solution? Give me 2 ideas. They could be wrong. They could be right. If they're right, you've grown. If not, say, why don't you try this? If not, try yours. Everyone has to work on the same level. It's okay to go to people and ask for advice, but if they don't think on their own, mm-hmm. and we have things where, I look through and I go, wait a minute. I'll go straight up to the CSR. I said, this vaccine, this should have been done at 6 months. They were here like 2 weeks ago. Because I look and I said, is that good for the patient? No. Is it going to happen again? No. Are you responsible for this now? As you were before? Yes. No more discussion. Not a discussion. That's simple. Patient, client, hospital. Not everyone, we're human. We don't do everything right. Well, I don't know.
Well, I love your thoughts here because it makes me just think about in settings as far as jobs that people do. A lot of times they are waiting for their employer to tell them to do everything. And in some instances, it can be some thought pattern that you have, for that employee, whatever role you're playing. Mm-hmm. It's more than them telling you what to do. There should be a responsibility that you should have with your role that goes beyond, what they tell you. It should exceed further. If you, it just reminds me of that. So, and it can be applied to in numerous roles outside, within or and outside of the veterinary profession. But whatever role or position you're doing, your responsibility is not just to do what you're told to do. You're supposed to think of everything with it. If there's a question, as you said, that you don't know, figure it out. Because find the response, find the answer. But their response shouldn't be just, I don't know. They don't pay me. And a lot of attitudes people get is they don't pay me enough. And it shouldn't be about that.
It should not be about that. When I did a lot of shipping, when Disney opened up in France. Yeah. When Disney opened up in France, yes, I'm old. I did all the shipping for the executives that went over there first. Mm-hmm. And my job was just not getting the paperwork in order, getting the cages all set in place, the shipping and all that stuff, taking them off to freight. That's only one piece of that job. I had to monitor them in the air. I call the airlines all the time. I said, where are we now? Everything okay? What's the temperature right now? And I had enough, I made sure I had enough influence that I got the answers. I reached the right people that were compassionate about animals. And when they landed, I got a phone call because we didn't, or the pager went off. We didn't have text at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would call the owner in France. I said, so-and-so just landed. Here's who you need to talk to, where you need, and do me a favor, just page me when you have, and I'll call you back to see if everything's okay. It's not just the initial, I'm shipping it, it's gone. It doesn't work that way. You've got to own it from the beginning to the end. And many of those executives, moved back and they called me for receiving, right? And I did the same thing. Talk to the people on the other end. When did you ship? What's the flight airline? What aircraft? Where are they? What's the temperature? And then I would find out the status. And that's the kind of responsibility that I like to work with. And I always ask, what is your slip? I'll be very honest. So what do you think the trickle-down effect is? Or are others affected? Are your coworkers affected? If you call in and you're sick and you didn't find someone to help replace your position anywhere, doctors included, who loses? Well, I said, who loses? I mean, who suffers and who feels the pain of missing one person that can really help out?
Mm-hmm.
The patient, that's number one. I said, the client too, in our hospital, that falls under, our coworkers, it falls under, because it creates a stress level that we don't need, just be prepared, take ownership. And let me know, or let someone know, I say that as me, it's just anywhere. But if you're not feeling well, don't wait for the last second. Call me the day before and just say, be prepared. I may or may not feel well. I'll believe you. Because if I don't have honesty and transparency, then I can't provide best patient care, right? Very simple. Everything, patient, client, hospital. That's why I love working with companies, because I can sit there and evaluate, okay, what are they doing? What's their primary purpose? And I read a lot of purpose statements, a lot of mission statements. Not that they're bad. They're all very good to have. And values. And then I kind of assess, all right, even in human healthcare, it's like, okay, so I worked with one surgeon that was just seeing clients like a number. And I said, they were wondering, well, I don't get to see they come in for a couple of rechecks and then I don't hear from them. I said, well, first off, I'm going to be very straight with you. We're not numbers. And I had surgery from this one particular doctor. It was a bilateral inguinal repair, hernia repair. And I said, you're the worst bedside man I've ever seen. I don't even know how you get work. I mean, I believe you've got to be really good at what you do because you're getting referrals, but you're not getting a lot of happy clients, And surgery was great. I mean, fantastic. But the surgery center was completely different. The reception, the anesthetic tech, the nurse, the anesthesiologist, the recovery nurse understood who I am. To that person, number 17 came in. That's where I cannot recommend. I could say, he's a great surgeon, but I wouldn't recommend him. So he hired me. There you go. He's doing a lot better, but it's it is every touch point that anyone can possibly get near. I get like reminder cards from a lot of hospitals as I spread my data everywhere. And I look at some of these reminder cards, and now they're digital, but I look at them and I read them and I'm like, wow, that's about as cold as you can get. Charlie's due for a, really? You want to tell me what it is? Maybe I don't remember. Did you know that, he could catch? And I mean, educate. I don't have to read a lot. Just give me a line so I understand what it's for. But the average, if you look in and that's what, well, I should say the average pet owner will go to Dr. Google and look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what it means. Well, okay, so it's nicknamed kennel cough. Well, my dog hasn't been boarding anywhere. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
no explanation. Socialization, dog parks. I mean, you could have this litany list,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I love education, because it makes a lot of sense. Look, I ended up in a few of my hospitals. We had, in a few areas, at a highest incidence of rabies in a couple of counties so I just said, you know what? I said, put on a special. We're going to give 100 rabies vaccines free. Free. I'd rather see animals inoculated. And what is it? $4.10 a dose?
Yes.
100. Spend more on trying to make a flyer and distributing it. So what do you think happened? For ones that have been seen a doctor within the last 8 months, there was no physical exam, but everyone came in for other vaccines that needed to come up to date: ears, lumps, bumps, parasite, diarrhea, ugly teeth. And that's not one of the primary purposes why I did it. My primary purpose is I want to make sure that at least they're inoculated in the high incident area.
Mm-hmm.
So if it costs us that much, let it be the goodwill for the community, which is good for the hospital and, again, pet client. And it just blew up like crazy in April. That's right. Smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you remember your primary purpose, and that's what I can only stress at the most, is that anything that you try to convey or educate to a patient, whether it be human or furry with 4 legs or 2 wings, bring on the education. And a lot of we provide education in our industry, in our veterinary industry. God knows I've done enough. Well, I just finished a race for veterinarians earlier in the year, but we do enough. And when speaking, and we do plenty, we go to plenty of conferences, and clients don't. Okay. There's a pet fair, pet expo. It's a free giveaway. Not a whole lot. It's what I can sell you.
You know what, Steven, what I think needs to happen is, I mean, again, we have our conferences and meetings that's, geared toward the veterinary profession. Then there's a separate one that's, you could say, a pet industry conferences, different pet industry things. But there needs to be kind of a forum where pet owners can come and maybe interface within maybe the veterinary profession to learn more education, to learn more about, as veterinarians, what we do face.
Right.
One comment I remember I can't remember, I think it was a conversation with Boo from Care Credit. A lot of folks don't understand, actually it was with Boo. A lot of folks don't understand fees and how much things cost that much as far as when it comes to healthcare in a lot of ways, because you think about it, when we go, we have co-pays and we might see the final bill at the end, but we're never given the option when we see a medical profession. You go there, you don't tell them, no, I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do that. They do whatever's needed to take.
Right. They don't ask. This is the, right.
They do everything. So, and we hear our copay of maybe $50 and we're like, yeah, whatever, it is done. Now, when it comes to pets, veterinarian will tell you, well, it's going to cost this, it's going to cost this, it's going to cost this. And it's like, oh my God, it's so expensive. But it's because you're not aware of it. And then we're giving them options. We don't have the ability to just say, I'm going to do the top gold standard for your pet for every single thing. We don't have that option. Yeah. We have to fit within a budget. And then they think it's expensive, but I don't know. But I think it's the lack of education, lack of just knowing what's available as far as treating animals. If we can interface as far as veterinarians and pet owners and start them understanding our capabilities, what these diagnosis tests will tell you, because they think if their pet is vaccinated, they're healthy. No.
No, it is brilliant. And an average pet owner is intuitive. They are intuitive. They want to know. They just, unfortunately, like you said, they receive a price that is it's for insurance purposes. It's pretty much like it's still indemnity. So I still got to pay everything up front. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. If I had to pay my hospital bill up front when I was there for 3.5 weeks, forget. Oh my God.
Yeah. Right.
It's not that I don't eventually get to see it, but it's probably about 4 months later.
Right.
And we'll get there one of these days. But the education process of it is so important, because even employees will utilize equipment. So they'll do a cystocentesis with the US, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I come to the point where, old school, that, you either palpate it, get it with great accuracy, but it's okay. But there's no thought in, like, that's a $50,000 unit. So do we or do we not? We do have a charge in all the hospitals I work with for thoracic centesis, abdominal, and cysto. And many of them will just, like, they don't even include it. They don't price it out. And I turn around and say, you want an endoscope? Yeah, absolutely. And we're happy to pay for the training, and we're happy to pay. We're just now going through, very expensive training on a lot of hospitals. It is 100% worth it. And if I can help you learn and grow a career like I did in this industry, you got both hands behind my back. However, you got to remember that those are not toys. Those are that medical equipment is really important diagnostic equipment. There is a cost. Just take responsibility for it and accept it. Just don't try and say, well, they don't have money, I want to do a quick, fast on this ultrasound. No. At least go to the client and say, look, I'd like to do, I really got to see what's going on in there. I feel something's wrong, and it'll be this much. Can I do it? Then you can make a decision. But you know what I mean? It's like, be responsible.
Yeah.
But the educational process of what that does is huge. Every time that we, up on all our rooms have monitors, that we bring up the RADs and we bring up the ultrasound images or the stills, they don't know what they're reading. Unless they're in the medical field, they're clueless. But when they get educated and they say, okay, there's a liver margin, there's a spleen margin, there's a diaphragm, this is supposed to be, this heart is supposed to be this size, it's this size. They accept that.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, but, and our technicians are fantastic. Our doctors are fantastic. And they also know that time is precious. Time is precious in treating the animal. Time is precious in seeing the next patient that needs to be treated. So it becomes, everyone's trained to educate. When on our wellness and preventative, the list. Oh my God. Well, you can add anything from all soups and all nuts from A to Z that would be beneficial for a pet. But how do I get out the most important and what's going to make a significant difference in this pet's health and this pet's life? Because everyone wants to talk about, there's a good opportunity to speak to the client about whatever. So define the difference, take responsibility, and stay connected with the client. Just because they walk out the door and go home doesn't mean you can't pick up the phone and call them and continue the conversation.
Right. I mean, that's extremely important. And I'll be honest, something personal that I like to do. I love education. To me, that's I mentioned briefly offline, me practicing with my schedule is a little bit tough, right? And it takes a lot out of me. But what I do miss about practice is that interaction and communication with the pet owner. I think that's the most crucial and important thing that you can do to benefit that pet, is for you educating them and having an understanding so that you can actually help their pet. And that's so important. And I also think it's an art that is lost too. So, because some veterinarians will not take that time to do that. And it's so important, It's
funny you say that, because it is a 100% art. when you start a new practice and you
Mhm.
have your signs up, few people, come in, bring their animal in, live in the neighborhood, friends, family, you have all the time in the world hanging with that client and that patient. All of a sudden you go home and go, oh, I was with Dr. So-and-so. The place is gorgeous. Spend 45 minutes with me. I can't believe it. Right. And 3 years down the line, you got 10 minutes. And that's the art, to show the value that you can still convey that much information, that they feel like they have the comfort, the knowledge, and additional education. It is an art. It is an absolute art. I'm glad you said that, because
It's an art.
yeah, you know, and because we never know in our business what's behind us, who's coming in, what's the trauma, the next emergency, the next case. We just have to, understand and be prepared. And listen, I can't tell you how many different types of collateral materials we have on snake bite cases, or coral snake bite cases, or cobra. Not everyone's going to read it. They're going to see a picture and go, oh yeah, they get swelling. I'll take them in. It's like, okay. So we get a little deeper. We modify it. And as the animals are in triage and they finish their paperwork, we say it is vital you sit down for 5 minutes and read these 6 sentences. It'll help you understand what's going on. And then we'll be up here, and it's not a page. It's 6 sentences. This is what happens in your dog's body when they are bitten. And there's a difference between limbs, face, rear. So wherever they got bit, we just give them that piece. We just keep it very succinct. We're responsible for educating that client on it. And then in that time that we're doing triage and stabilization, they already know that, oh, I had to treat it as antivenom. And oh my God, next time I probably shouldn't have waited because the bite was this morning. I got in this afternoon. Education. It's like, okay, so it won't be so bad when they're finally go into the exam room and fees are explained, services are warranted, fees are explained, and then they can say, I can do everything, but overnight's really tough. Or we had some that have stayed 3 days, 2 nights. Okay. We just had 2 canines that came in, dachshund siblings, that drank a combined total of 1/4 gallon of Lysol. Yeah. So, and one had inhalation pneumonia, but they both were coughing. And, it's one of those things where it's not a matter of giving them a sheet about ingestion of poisoning and toxic material. It's about saying this is what happens in the system when they digest Lysol. Keep it succinct. Educate them on what happened. And I won't even get in to tell you about the x-rays, and the pain was ridiculous. But they went home, and it was 9 days hospitalization. And all I'm going to tell you is full price. And there was plasma involved. There was minute by minute. We had 2 techs sitting for we had shift change. So it was about 16 hours, two shifts, 16 hours sitting with each dog monitoring. It's a critical care case. And she came in here. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry for cutting in. Let me ask you this, Steven. So, if let's say a youth was brought into the emergency room and had ingested Lysol, and the hospital had to treat it, they would also call the police with the suspicion of abuse.
Abuse, correct.
Do veterinarians have that same criteria because there's no way an animal would just ingest Lysol.
Okay, so how it basically works, because it's in most of the, if not all the handbooks that I put together, is the veterinarian is obligated, if they see or hear, so that's be told by a veterinary technician, told by the front, that they may suspect animal abuse, they will obtain a complete history. And if their suspicion is strong and they believe it has, now I'll tell you the story about the Lysol case. They are supposed to call and notify the local animal services by whatever municipality they're in, and they can file a police report. Okay, but step one is they call animal services and control. They make a complaint and file a complaint, and they will follow it up. If it is of intent, they usually can do both. They can call, but the veterinarian must call. We don't let anyone in the hospital do that, because we want to make sure that the doctor's evaluation is the final evaluation. And so, yes, we can all tell if an animal's been abused, but it has that's where the hierarchy comes into play. Now, these two dachshunds, unfortunately, were being taken care of by a caretaker. It's a hot day. They went through their water bowl and they left them out too long. And they went for anything that could be considered fluid, started chewing on the thing and drank it up. So was it negligent? Absolutely. Was it intentional? No. Okay. So, you have to really understand the dynamics of each individual situation. I mean, I've seen dogs that have come in that's like, you've got a nystagmus, their head is tilted to the side, and it's like, well, he was fine this morning, but it's like, okay. And did the cat fall? Was there any injuries? Was there a head trauma? No, we're just arguing, and we came back and we noticed him that way. Well, that's suspicious, right? And so those are the things that we draw out. And if they're 100% in denial, no, I did not abuse, no, I didn't. Well, that's a decision made by the doctor and usually by the hospital manager. I mean, I'm the general manager, so I have a number of hospitals, but it's not the end of the world if you make a complaint and you're wrong. Okay. That's just like a civil geriatric check. Hey, I'm doing a welfare check, right? This came up. We noticed this. Here's the documentation. Here's the history. Here's the x-rays. You've been notified. Okay. So we thank God don't run into a lot of it, but we can spot it in a millisecond, and it comes down to involuntary abuse. We'll see dogs that have or cats, they're completely matted, eyes are closed shut, and they're just pathetic, a mess. And you sit there and think it's not intentional, but it is abuse. It's a very tough subject. But we don't hold back. But to answer your question in a long-winded explanation, we let the veterinarian make the call because it's under their license and our hospital license, and they are instructed to call the local municipality animal care and control, file a complaint, and they can file a complaint with the police department if they choose to. One does the other anyway, because one will say, did you call animal care and control? They're responsible. And in the San Diego area, it's the Humane Society, which is different than the local municipality animal control. Those are officers, just like any other peace officers. And they'll investigate cases like that. So, yeah. But that's taking responsibility for the patient.
Yeah. Well, Steven, I don't know if you're aware, we have gone over our time, which is
not
bad. Which goes to show you were sharing some really, really very interesting information. So great discussion. Definitely loved it. But we're going to have to wrap it up.
Dinner soon.
Time. And we're going to have you come back and share, and definitely share your ideas as far as your other future things you're going to do within branding that's putting our pet first. I love it. You said the pet, the client, and either the hospital association or what have you, but come first is what we're all really focused on. And I really applaud you for that. The pet is the main thing there.
I can't thank you enough. I totally enjoy it. It's you two have both so much experience, and I have learned over time. If I don't learn something at every moment that I am around, then it's not a complete day. You have completed my day so far. I've learned a lot. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you so much. And I think, definitely between the stories that you told, you have shared so much great. I didn't even get a chance to put up all the banners because you just kept flowing with the great lessons in branding. And, when I work with my different clients, I always, for me personally, I've always worked from the aspect of what is the client's journey, and the client can be anyone. So it could be the employee, it could be the guy outside. But we want to, number one, reduce or eliminate all friction in the client's journey, and also infuse high quality customer service. And if you can think of those two things at all aspects, no matter who the client is, you will have a successful business.
Can't go wrong.
And again, I repeat, that even goes back to your employees. Everybody is working towards building success. So, but I thank you so much for all the amazing examples.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Very much.
Awesome. Well, again, really,
You're
Steven,
welcome.
We'll have you coming back.
Dr.
Soon.
Bryant, was there?
Yeah, we'll have Steven come back very, very soon. You're going to always be a repeat guest for us because I'm just impressed by you. That's all. It's amazing things you've done within the veterinary profession, and again, putting that pet first, and that's my thing too. So I really applaud that. So we'll have you back in to hear more about your updates and just have a great conversation. So thank you so much. And
have a good Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, same to you. Same to you. Anything further?
Absolutely. Nope, that would be it. We don't get lost in conversation that often, but both of us were just in it to win it. So thank you again, Steven, for joining us. And like Dr. Bryant said, we definitely have to have you back. But for now, this is our last Facebook Live for the month, and we hope that everyone has a fantastic Memorial Day weekend and for beginning of your summer and all of that good stuff. But we will see you back in June with another month worth of Facebook Lives with Dr. Nelva Bryant. Until then, everyone have a very good week and weekend and holiday.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.